The Tilley and Billy Show is brought to you by Spreads.ca, Canada's newest online casino and sportsbook. Why gamble playing with the other sites when you can play all your favorite slots and table games at the casino made for Canada? Spreads.ca has over 500 games like Mega Moolah and Live Dealer Blackjack. Head over to the sportsbook, check out all the best betting markets. When signing up at Spreads.ca, enter the code TILLBILL25, make a deposit, and get a 100% match bonus and a $25 free sports bet. Just for registering at Spreads.ca, you'll get 10 free spins for $1 million. Go to Spreads.ca and sign up now with the code TILLBILL25. Billiards Academy and Sports Lounge, family owned and operated since 1971, oldest pool hall in the city, a great family-friendly place to watch the Leafs, Jays, Raptors, and soccer. Half-price wings night on Monday night. Wings are fantastic. 485 Danforth Avenue, 416-466-9696. Go to billiardsacademy.ca. COSA, Central Ontario Standardbred Association, providing a united voice for harness people at Ontario tracks. Check out your benefits today at COSAonline.com. Live racing year-round at Woodbine Mohawk Park, Flamborough Downs, and Western Fair. You've got real estate needs? Call Dan Parker at Sutton Group Heritage Brokerage, 905-439-5108, or go to danindurham.com. Whether buying or selling in Toronto or Durham region, list with Dan, become a fan.
So, wow, what an intro. Thanks, Vic. That's beautiful. Welcome to the Tilley and Billy Show. This is episode 67, and 67 has some significance in this neck of the woods. What happened in 67, Billy? Well, let's see. Anyway, welcome to the show. I'm Joe Tilley in Newcastle, Ontario. He's Billy the Greek in Scarberia. And, of course, we have our guest today, Bob Elliott. Beautiful Bob Elliott from Mississauga. So we got the GTA covered from west to east. We're at all points in between. And, of course, this is an exciting time because we're talking baseball. Who better to talk baseball than the voice of baseball, well, the print voice of baseball in Canada for many, many years. Bob has got over 40 years as a sports writer, following baseball, first the Expos, for the Ottawa Citizen for 8 years, and he joined the Toronto Sun in 1986, covered the Jays for over 30 years. In 2012, he was inducted into Cooperstown as the recipient of the J.G. Taylor Spink Award by the National Baseball Hall of Fame and Museum. He is the only Canadian to receive that distinction. He's also a member of the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame, the Ontario Baseball Hall of Fame, and you know, Bob, it's great to have you here. You know, a week ago, the Jays had just dropped 6 games in a row. They dropped to the 500 mark, and we were thinking, you know, suddenly a playoff spot is looking a little precarious here. Would the Jays even make it? But it came down to the final game of the season where they had a chance to actually finish second in the division. Is that significant?
I think, thanks for having me aboard. I think that what hit me yesterday was, I remember years and years ago, I'm not a hockey guy, but I remember reading Frank Orr, and it was, if the Leafs won tonight, they make the playoffs. And so he wrote, $100. So I would say this is progress, but the problem they have is it's not going to be this many teams in the postseason next year. So they have a lot of work to do still.
But are you sure? I mean, the baseball, Major League Baseball, it won't be kind of hard for them to go back to, what is it, 10 teams versus 16 teams?
I think it was 8. They went 8 to 16. So I think it was just a one-time deal because of the short
COVID.
And to get some more money from the TVs.
You guys obviously, you guys, the both of you go back to a black and white TVs. You go back to a point in time where Bobby, they're two playoff clubs. One out of the East, there's not 16 teams.
American League and National League. That's it. Yeah.
Absolutely right. Where there used to be teams like the Giants won 103 games years back and didn't make the playoffs. Do you like the new format, Bobby? Do you like getting more markets involved and kind of, I don't know if it cheapens it for some of the purists that really love the game the way it is, but where do you stand when it comes to the addition of playoff markets? Like, how do you feel?
Well, I think you're gonna look at this 20 years from now and say, hey, what the heck happened in 2020? Everybody played 60 games. The whole season is cheapened. But 60 is better than 0, right? So I mean, I'd like to see them get back up to 162 or maybe 150.
How about the playoff format, Bob? Just moving forward, do you like more teams included in the postseason?
No. How many hockey teams get in right now?
Same thing, 16.
16. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's too many.
Well, you know what? I think it's going to be hard for the owners once they got a taste of this. Once they've got extra teams making extra money in the postseason. I'll bet you they go. I'll bet you they have 16 teams next year.
But Joseph, I think it's the way it works is there's 0 revenue at the gate, right? Right now, they are talking about maybe for the World Series, if the stadium in Arlington is open, they will sell tickets to fans. But the rest of the way, the TV money, it's a split. And the last contract I remember writing about, it was a 30-way split. So you could be Washington last year and win it, and Washington this year and not even make the postseason, and you still get the same amount. Mm-hmm. Or Kansas City, who was bad this year, you still get the same amount. So I don't know.
Yeah. It would come down to whether there's a gate then. It would come down to whether there's a gate. If there's a gate, you're talking about, teams making money that would normally not be making money this time.
The parking, the concessions, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah.
So, I get that. But you know what? To me, I like it. I like the fact that there's more teams involved. I like the fact that the Jays are involved. I mean, this is exciting. If it wasn't the case, I mean, if this wasn't the case, if this was an unusual year, well, I guess would they make a wild card? No, they wouldn't have. They wouldn't have made a wild card. So
no, but if they had but at 32 and 28 over a 60-game season, they'd be right in the mix for the last wild card spot. What the addition, Bobby and Joe, what the addition of extra clubs in the playoffs brings is more meaningful baseball in September for a lot of different markets, right? Yep. Whereas there's so many markets that 3 weeks into the season, if you're a Kansas City Royal fan this year, you're counting days to get eliminated 3 weeks into the season. You got no hope. You got nothing. Only if you love the game, you show up and you watch them. You got nothing going on. So if you add clubs, you're also adding interest. And instead of September playing somewhere in front of 7, 8, 10,000 fans, more than likely you'd be able to sell more seats if there's interest in the games, right? And I believe whether you like it or not, even as a purist, the days of 16-team playoff baseball, I agree with Joe. They're here to stay.
Yeah, but this year they had 0 fans.
Yeah.
You're not counting those cardboard guys, are you?
Okay. Hold on, Bob. I could have swore. Hold on, Joe. I could have swore I seen a.
who else? I saw a Miami game that was somebody I recognized. Oh, and the Dodgers, Dennis Gilbert, the old agent. Yeah,
They had a few guys. Yeah, they had a few guys in the NBA. And the NBA cut out guys. They had some. I think guys could purchase one or whatever.
Yeah.
Maybe who
I
knows?
think it goes to the charity or the foundation or something. I will tell you this though. So the other night they win, right? I got a really good friend, and he's very, very emotional. Okay? He's probably about 75.
Right.
So he's a football coach from Buffalo, and I missed the call, and I pick up the message, and it's I can't believe this. I can't believe this. And he's crying. He said, this is the greatest story in the history of Buffalo. The Toronto Blue Jays are down here and they're celebrating on the mound. This is just tremendous. This is just tremendous. And so I phoned him back and I said, where were you sitting for the game? He said, in my living room,
Before we get to preview the Jays and the Rays, I'd like to get your thoughts on the skipper, Montoya, in terms of what did you think about the hire and what did you think about his performance, and has your view altered at all through the course of the season? Have you become more inclined to like the skipper? Has he done anything to kind of impress you, or where are you with him in comparison to where you were when he first got hired?
I thought it was a good hire, and I wrote it was a good hire at the time because, as opposed to like Rocco Baldelli or Mickey Callaway with the Metsies a year ago. I mean, all these guys had zero experience. I mean, the guy had 18 years in the minors, 8 years at AAA. There wasn't going to be much that he had not seen before. Mm-hmm. There wasn't going to be much some guy pouting or sulking, or he could probably handle it. And I think he did for the most part. I know a lot of guys. I was shocked about how critical people were about his lineups, and that was when they played the Yankees, and they gave up 19 home runs in 24 innings. I mean, you could have had Ruth and Gehrig and Ty Cobb hitting 3, 4, 5. Guess what? It's 10 to, it's 10, every game was like 12-1 or something. But then the next time around, the Blue Jays beat up on the Yankees. But I like the guy.
Yeah. Here's what I look at. Okay, this is a team that every player from top to bottom, just about in that lineup, got better as the season progressed. Things were happening. Guys were hitting better. I mean, Vlad had a terrible start. He hit well at the end. All these guys in the middle. Grichuk was better at the end. All these guys were, in the middle of the order, were starting to hit. Teoscar Hernandez had the catcher wasn't. Yeah, that's the only problem they've had as a catcher. But then they brought up Mr. Kirk, who's Captain Kirk, who was a nice surprise. But I just thought other than the catcher position, I think everybody was hitting better on that team. I think everybody was playing well. I think Vlad, overcame that shaky start when he got, dicked around a little bit in terms of position, and I think it was hard on the kid. But when it's all said and done, here they are in the playoffs, and how can you argue with that? A team, like you said, that lost 95 games last year is in the postseason. That's miraculous, really.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's interesting to get your take. Obviously, Montoya, you said the experience he's garnered. He garnered the majority of that experience in the Tampa Bay organization. So he's like the little Kevin Cash. Kevin Cash 2.0, handles his bullpen the same way, relies heavily on analytics.
that's not a good example. Shoemaker
Right.
is only facing 19 guys, or he can't go past 20, or whatever the number is. You know, he gets told that at 5 o'clock or 3 o'clock or whatever, and it's not a weakness on Charlie's part. Everybody, that's the way it is. You remember when the Dodgers, they took out Kenny Hill there during the World Series after 65 pitches or something, and because they didn't want him to go through the third time. So it worked that night, but guess what? The bullpen wore down. It broke down. So Kevin Millar, for all his silliness and funniness, you know, it's after the game. Dave Roberts is up there, and they're saying, "Why'd you do this? Why'd you do that? Why'd you do this?" And why'd you have the ham sandwich for lunch instead of the tuna sandwich? So it's Millar said, he said, if these analysts are going to tell the manager who should do what and everything, they should be up there on the stage after the game answering the questions.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that's an excellent point.
Absolutely.
Right.
Why should Shapiro, not Shapiro, why should Montoya have to give the answer to X, Y, and Z? He might agree with X and Y, but he doesn't agree with Z. You know, but we all got bosses. Or I don't anymore, but
that's kind of the point, Bob. We're trying to say, what we're trying to say here is, obviously there are times that you've been around the game forever. There are times when your guy's going good. If your guy's going good, you don't need analytics to tell you. The batter's swing tells you how he's pitching. Your catcher tells you how he's pitching, right? And if you subscribe to this kind of theory that Montoya has, you can get away with it in a 60-game season. You can get away with it. But do you honestly believe you can go through 162 like this and wear out that bullpen? It's no surprise that every guy in that bullpen's been injured. You've run through a million guys. There's no way in hell that this kind of theory can work, or this kind of way to handle a pitching staff can work over 162.
Well, that's the way
they're playing 162. They're not playing 162. They're playing 60. We're in a brand new world here. This is managing what you got with what you got, right? And so if they're in the playoffs, Billy, how the hell can you argue that?
Yeah, here's what I will say to you guys: that if I'm Taijuan Walker, or if I'm any other guy, even though wins as a pitcher have been marginalized, don't get it wrong. Pitchers like to get a W. When you're taking a guy with a lead out of the game with 2 outs in the bottom of the fifth, like he did to Ryu earlier in the year, and he's done a couple of times, that has an impact on a lot of guys. I know Rourke spoke out, but you can lose favor with a lot of guys by not showing them the confidence. And I'm not talking about playoff baseball, because, as Bobby knows, when you get in the playoffs, anything goes. You're not throwing the ball good, Skip will come get you. But when you're talking game 38 in the regular season, and you come get your guy after 4 2/3 with a 3-run lead, that's a quick way to lose a room, is it not?
Oh yeah, I agree with that. But Billy, the analytics community, they think that wins are not important.
Mm-hmm. But do pitchers?
Last week I was driving by the Sky Dome, and the roof was open, and they were tearing down all the scoreboards, the auxiliary scoreboard and the big scoreboard. I guess they won. Wins. Why even keep score?
Yeah. So let's get to the field, Bob. So when you're looking at, obviously, Tampa Bay and Toronto 1-8 matchup, how do you break down the series? Obviously, I think we'd all agree that Tampa Bay, in terms of their pitching, their starting rotation especially, has got a huge advantage. Do you see anywhere else where these teams are not evenly matched? For example, if you look at Toronto's starting 9, it's right on par with Tampa Bay's. As a matter of fact, I'd take Toronto's starting 9 over Tampa's, wouldn't you?
I take Tampa Bay center fielder. I think it was Gibbons the first time around called the place the House of Horrors.
Yeah, that's right.
They never seemed to do well there, but
Do you think,
they had a winning record there. So
yeah. Do you think, given the fact that it's a young nucleus, that they haven't been privy to some of these horrors, and it's a bunch of kids that don't know any better, that still plays? Because as you mentioned, that's a tough place for the Jays to win over the course of probably the last decade, right? Coming out of Tampa Bay with 2 out of 3 wins in a series during the middle of July has been like pulling teeth, next to impossible, right?
Right. Youth. That's a good point. Youth blind. I don't care what history. What's that?
Yeah.
I'm on my Twitter. I don't care. They don't. They're just living for tonight.
You're a tweeter?
Yeah, once in a while.
Once in a while. You have any? What do you do? Any controversial stuff on there coming out of your mind and mouth and fingers?
Well, yeah, but it costs you $40 to sign up, I think, right, Joe?
Well, the thing I liked about I think Billy's point about the pitchers not getting a chance to get as many wins as they normally would, in a season like this, I honestly don't think it matters. It's just when the 60-game schedule, I don't think anybody's going to look back and go, man, I wish I had an opportunity to pitch longer so I had more wins. The bottom line is, like Rio he was 1-0, right? His ERA was 2.57. I think he's pretty happy with that. I think he's pretty happy with the way things went. And I think if you look at an ERA like that, you have to say, well, Jays must have handled it pretty well if he kept his ERA under 3, right?
Yeah,
I think. And so now you've got this matchups, and so what do you think about starting Shoemaker?
Well, I don't know. I'm not there, but I don't know. Well, I guess nobody's there, right? There's no clubhouse. There isn't any clubhouse access. But I don't know.
What do you do if you're the skipper, Elliott? Who you got on the mound?
I go with the best guy, unless Ryu has said to them, "I'm sore from last start. I went too long or whatever,"
Right.
So
he pitched. He pitched. He threw 100 pitches in his last start. Over 100 pitches in his last start for the only time this year, and that was just Thursday. So it might have been a case where he just said, "Well, he might have said, let's back it off a day," and he might have gone that way, or it might have.
That's 4 days rest. That's That's what most guys used to get.
Right. Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Yeah.
It's funny, Bob. I used to throw 300 pitches playing Burpee at 1 o'clock and another 140 at the yard and another 80 the next day. What was?
Yeah, but how many strikes?
Yeah, but that was 40 miles an hour, Billy. It's a little different.
Hold on. And again, I don't want to change subjects or anything, but we're so careful with these pitchers. We're so careful with pitch counts. Radar guns have infiltrated the game, have changed the game completely, in my estimation. So we're ultra careful with these pitchers, and more and more of them are going down with Tommy John surgery. So on one hand, we're protecting them from themselves. On the other hand, they're going down like flies. What gives here? Doesn't make sense.
Well, they're so careful because they have $80 million invested in Ryu. But if you want to talk Bob Gibson or Jack Morris or whatever, those guys were starting game 1. Yeah. This guy needs an extra day. Now, hopefully he's not hurt or anything. But the thing is, the dominant team of the next decade is going to be the first one to cut down injuries or eliminate, come up with a program where you don't get hurt. Mm-hmm. And they've tried throwing the football and long toss and all.
right? If it's a wild card game, you know Ryu's getting the ball 100%. No matter if he's got 4 or 5 days, you paid him $80 million, he's getting the ball. If it's a wild card
Okay,
game.
let me ask you this. Let's say they beat Tampa Bay. When's the first game of the next series?
They get there's a break between series, so
Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, probably Saturday, probably.
Is he going to be ready to go again?
If he pitches game 2, he can come back game 1 for he can come back game 1 for the division series. Absolutely, it would be within his rest window. So I believe the thinking on behalf of Akin Shapiro and the Brain Trust is if you take Ryu in game 1 against Snell's still the better pitcher and probably favored to win that game. But if you hold Ryu back for game 2, you get a better pitching matchup against the righty.
That's no.
You get a better pitching matchup, and here's what happens. If you can somehow steal game 1 with Shoemaker, Ray, whoever else, then you got Ryu to close them out. And if you lose game 1, you got Ryu to save your season. Bobby, in double elimination tournaments, you never pitch your best guy until you lose, right?
No, I think you go if it's a contending team, I think you go with the guy first. I think you go as best. Okay, yeah. You're the best, you're starting. You're the second best, you get the second game.
And you made a good point, Bob, about the next series. If they get past Tampa and Ryu pitches the first game, there's a real good chance he starts the first game in the next series. If he pitches the second game, then you've got to bump him back in the next series as well. So you're bumping him back each series.
I mean, they have to go into it thinking we're going to win. This is
right. That's the idea, right?
Win, right?
Yeah.
So do they have a better chance in the second series with Ryu going the first game tomorrow night or game 2? I would say if he pitches game 1.
Well, yeah, because unlike the strategy that Billy's talking about, I like the idea you win that first game. You throw your best out there, and if you happen to win, that first game, all the pressure is on them. All the pressure is on the number 1 seed, right?
Here's the deal. That's fine, Joe. You're right 100%. But even if you're going out without Ryu, you're not going out not to win that ball game, right? You can get like a guy like Robbie Ray, believe it or not, 2 years ago was one of the best pitchers in the planet. 2 years in, she's not that far removed. You can catch lightning in a bottle with Shoemaker and Ray in game 1, and if you stick it to them in game 1, Bob, then you come back with your ace in game 2, and then the pressure's on. Can you find me a better spot for Toronto Blue Jay baseball than to be one up with your $80 million guy on the mound to close them out? That's a case closed, man.
I say you use a guy in the game 1 to get up 1-0. What's wrong with being up 1-0 and having 2 shots to win it?
Yeah. We're not throwing away the game, but we're not throwing away the game 1, Bob. But what we're saying, if Ryu loses game 1, you know what your chances are of beating Tampa Bay 2 straight with Shoemaker and Walker? Slim and none. Believe me. You're not going to beat Glasnow. You're not going to beat.
What are the chances if Shoemaker loses and Ryu loses?
If Shoemaker loses, let me make sense.
If Shoemaker loses and Ryu loses, it's over, Billy. It's the best of 3.
But if Shoemaker loses,
one off the bus.
If Shoemaker loses, you still got Ryu to save your season. Either way, game 2, he's either closing them down or he's saving your season, and he's your best pitcher. Good move by Montoya. Good move.
Except for, it's probably not Montoya's move. It's probably an organizational discussion. But except for, as Bob mentioned, if you put Ryu out first, then you win this series. Then you go to the next series, Ryu pitches game 1 and maybe game 5. Then you go to the next series and Ryu pitches again, right?
is they're holding their best guy back, which will again, if Montoya and Nebraska are right, it's going to look ingenious. But if it blows up in their face and Shoemaker gives up 6 and they're down in the top of the third 6-0, then they're going to come calling for him.
Well, you're not going to use Ryu then.
No, they're going to come calling for the skipper.
When you're down 6-0.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I tend to agree with Bob, and I just think that, you got your number one guy, because you're also sending a message to your team, right? You're sending a message to your team. We're here to win. We're sending our best guy. We're going to go out there. We're going to go after these guys, and we got our best guy out there. Let's do it. And then the guys come together. They think they got a chance with Rio and them now, right? Psychologically, they believe they can beat these guys.
So you remember the year 2009 when the WBC was here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know the example. The Italy example. I know. I heard it. Give it to us. Give it to me, Bob. I'm ahead of you. Give it.
All
to
right.
me.
So the best pitcher on the staff was Scott Richmond.
That's right.
Right.
So game 1 against the U.S., they pitched Mike Johnson 5-4. It was the greatest game of the season. Votto went off. Morneau did well, and J.J. Putz got the final out, and he said, "Man, I've never been in the playoffs, but this is it." So, anyways, now so they're 0-1. So they pitched Vince Perkins against Venezuela, and they save against Italy. And then they save Scott Richmond to face Venezuela. Well,
never got there. Here's the point.
He went back to Florida rested.
Here's the point, Bob. That if you can't beat Italy, even with the great pitching, you're not going to win the tournament anyways. You're going home one way or another. You can't beat that club. Sure, you might get another game, but the likelihood of you advancing past that point is probably slim and none either way. So either you manage to win everything, or you manage to win nothing. You don't play just to get to the next game. You got to get a bigger picture in mind, and you got to hold your guy back for the best possible club. Now, if it turns out that way and you're right, you give your club the best possible chance not to win the game against Italy, but to move forward and beat Venezuela too, right? And it didn't happen, and more than likely the club wasn't good enough, irrespective of who pitches. Right?
I agree. It wasn't the strongest. However, how good a feeling is that? They all walk out of the park and they say, "Man, we didn't even use our best guy. We didn't use our best pitcher."
Shout out to Marty Roberts. He's been telling me that for 2 years. I left my best pitcher behind at the OBAs against that. I let him sit in the OBAs. He's still waiting for that 7:30 game that never come. What's going on, Marty Roberts?
He was ready for next spring, right? He was rested. I agree with Marty.
Yeah, man. Absolutely. Yeah. The Bulldogs suffered because of that, Billy. You should have gone ahead with your best pitcher, man. Anyway, that's another thing we got to talk about here is like, the Tampa Bay lineup versus the Jays lineup. I mean, if you go up and down that, I'm talking about hitting now, offensively. I'd say that I think the Jays match up pretty well against Tampa. Wouldn't you say so?
Yeah, they put up some big numbers against Yankee pitching.
Yeah. Well, and also, I mean, but the Jays were 4-6 against the Rays. 4 of those 6 losses were by 1 run. They outscored the Rays 48-44 in the 10 games this year. So it's not like they were manhandled by this team. And, if they didn't have that 6-game losing skid that they ran into a little bit of a problem there, maybe they'd be battling the Rays for the division lead, right?
100%. guys that you can roll out 1, 2, and 3: Snell, Glasnow, and Morton. Right? Tampa Bay has the obvious edge when it comes to starting pitching, not only on the Blue Jays, but anybody they'll face moving forward. The thing with me with Tampa Bay, and I'd like to get, Bob, your accounts on this, is there's one guy that really catches my eye for that club, and that's the center fielder you mentioned earlier, Kiermaier. This guy's he's a 230, 240 hitter against the rest of the league, but when he plays the Blue Jays, they can't get this guy out. He's on base all the time. He looks like the best player in baseball against Toronto. How do you shut a guy like that down?
Well, I don't know how you shut him down. I guess you ask the guys that he's hitting 230 against. But the thing is, I remember I don't know what year it was. He won the Gold Glove.
That's right.
Yeah. Pilar got real snarky. He said I should have won it and all this stuff. So a lot of guys. He might be playing above where he is against Toronto just because of the
stuff like that.
Because of the Pilar rivalry, and I mean I know Pilar's gone. This is going back 5 or 6 years.
Yeah, it's funny enough, Bob, that this is our 67th show, Joe and I, and it's the first time that I've ever agreed with. No, maybe the second time that I've agreed with Joe over here. Blue Jays on paper offensively got the better team. They got the better club 1 through 9. If you go by position by position, there's not many places where I take the Tampa Bay guy over the Toronto guy, unless you're talking about the 3 pitchers that you're going to have to beat, and that's going to be the issue. Can Toronto generate enough offense to stay in the games for the first 6 innings? Because if it becomes a bullpen game, Bob, as you know that it might with Tampa, Toronto, the 2 analytical clubs going back and forth, this is going to come down to bullpens, right? And if it comes down to bullpens, Toronto can hold their own there too, assuming, of course, everybody's healthy.
So does good hitting beat good pitching, or the other way around?
Usually, chicken and the egg, Bob. You tell me. But I'll take my chance. I'll take my chances with a guy that can throw strikes and get the ball over the plate over any kind of hitter any day of the week, right? So for me, it's good pitching, and if you subscribe to that theory, then you got to favor Tampa Bay, and you got to like Tampa Bay to put an end to Toronto. Maybe get to a 3rd game. But if you ask me my predictions, I'm in the prediction business, right? This one gets away from.
Yeah.
I don't want to talk about it, but I don't want to talk about it.
He's in the bad prediction business. But go ahead.
Did you have the Bills yesterday?
No, he didn't pick the Bills. He picks his Cowboys. And the Cowboys lose every, they won last week barely, but
not only, you know what's the problem, Bobby? Not only does Dallas have to go into Seattle and beat a Seahawks team, they got to beat 6 Zebras. Too terrible. Don't get me started, anyways. Toronto loses late to Tampa Bay, probably in the 3rd game. House of Horrors rears its ugly head. Something happens late game 3. Toronto loses. What's your prediction, Bob? Can you see a W? Can you call a W? Can you tweet a W?
I think you just gave the prediction.
How about yours? Forget about me, Bob. What do I know? You're the Hall of Famer, Bob. I'm just a loudmouth Greek. Give us a prediction.
Well, I think you can't go through life complaining about the Zebras. First off.
Yeah, right.
If there's a bad umpire, a bad back judge or field judge or whatever they call it in football, he's going to be bad for both teams usually.
Yeah.
Usually.
But for this, I see Tampa winning, and I think they should have started Ryu tonight, tomorrow night.
You see Tampa winning both, 2 in a row?
I don't know about 2 in a row, but they will advance, I think.
Joe?
Well, honestly, I think the Jays can. I think the Jays
right? Bob, let me ask you this quickly, a little bit off topic, but is
So
there
the
any
Braves are gonna win.
When did Clemens face the Braves?
Clement?
Yeah, never.
Bob, let's forget about details now. Let's
In
move
the
on.
World Series. All right.
Let's move on from there. Any truth to the rumor that the MLB has asked Joel Brinkman to call balls and strikes in Game 1 for the Blue Jays? Tampa Bay?
No. You're gonna find this funny though. I was at a Sandlot game the other night, and the umpire didn't show up. So they had one of the coaches do it. So you remember how Brinkman used to stand? He was kind of like, he wasn't really crouched. He would stand like one leg forward and then like one leg over at the X would be on the turf. He was that far back, right? So I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, who does that remind me of? And a guy walks by and he sees me like just staring at the umpire. Like, who goes to a game and stares at the umpire? Joe Brinkman. That's who it is, Joe Brinkman. I said, oh my goodness, you're right. That was the guy. That was the guy. I remember Ernie carved him big time in his book. He called him incompetent. Mm-hmm. And then I remember his first game back was at the X. Brinkman was on the plate and Ernie was catching, and he cleaned off home plate, and then he went face to face with Ernie, and Brinkman wouldn't say afterwards, and neither would Witt, what was going on. So now it's like a year later. We got there in Milwaukee. Candelaria gets kicked out. Borders get kicked out by Cooney, and I think Gruber did, all on a tag play at the plate. So I go in the umpire's room and I'm asking Cooney all these questions, and Brinkman's over in the corner and he says, "It's all my fault. I should have kicked Ernie Witt out that day at the exhibition game at the exhibition stadium, and every game I had him on the plate." That was I think he wore some suspenders for that. But
did you ever find out what Witt said to him, or what he said to Witt?
No, he didn't really. I took it. My guess was all right. Let's let bygones be bygones. But I remember like I don't know, 4 or 5 years after Witt went to Atlanta. One night we were in Kansas City, and they had a really bad call against him by Brinkman. And so Cito's opening line is, somebody should go down the hall and tell Brinkman that Ernie Witt doesn't play for this team anymore. So I go down the hall and I tell him that, and then Brinkman starts barking at Cito and blah, blah, blah. Oh yeah, that was a running theme. Yeah.
Apparently, George Bell was not a big fan of Mr. Brinkman either. Was he not?
George thought the umpires in '85 were anti-Canadian.
Yeah.
This is after he was on first, and I don't know who, somebody singled to the left, and he tried to go to third, and he was thrown out by 10 feet. And the guy rang him up.
Umpires. Well, you wrote a book about. Right? Yeah. Actually, I was going to get to that right now. Actually, so Bob's written a few books, including Hardball about George Bell, The Northern Game, Baseball the Canadian Way. If These Walls Can Talk, Toronto Blue Jays stories from the Blue Jays dugout, locker room, and press box. The Ultimate Blue Jays trivia book. And Bob's also, of course, he started the Canadian Baseball Network website, which attracts all active Canadian baseball players. Bob, you've done a lot of writing, my friend. But what probably I'm going to have to say that was that moment when you were inducted, when you received the Glick Award in Cooperstown, was that the highlight for you?
I would say the highlight was Gaylord Perry sits down, and he says, "What are you here for? What did you win?" I said, "I won a writer's award." He said, "I won an award or something." So he says, "Well, how long are you going to talk?" So I know I got it, right? Canadian humor. I said, "It'll be that much under 2 hours." And he says, "It better not be." He says, everybody be throwing stuff at you from behind. And Marichal was sitting there, and Marichal says, "And there'll be wet ones too," because he was always throwing spitters, right?
Right.
That was the highlight of that was I got the highlight of that weekend was Friday night. I'm standing in line. I probably interviewed Johnny Bench 4 times. I wouldn't say I had a big relationship with him. And he says, "Are you all set for tomorrow?" And I said, "No, I'm nervous." He said, "Why would you be nervous?" And he said, "Are you married?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "How many times?" I said, "Just once." He said, "Oh, that's pretty good." He said, How many kids you got?" I said, 2. "Did they give you any trouble?" I said, "No, neither one of them." He said, "Were you the other night Carter hit the home run?" I said, "Yeah." "Were you the other night Morris pitched the shutout, the extra inning shutout to win Game 7? "Yeah." "Were you there?" I said, "Yes." And
Yeah.
so then he just whopped me on the shoulder, and he said, "Well, why the heck would you let nerves ruin tomorrow, which is going to be the greatest day of your life?"
Wow.
And I went.
Hold on, Bob. Hold on.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Greatest day of your life? I thought you said you're married. You're supposed to say the second greatest day of your life, are you not?
Ben said that.
Your material, eh?
Ben said that.
Yeah. Yeah, Bob didn't say that. Ben said.
Good catch.
What's up? 14 minutes long, Bob, the speech. Did you know that? The speech was 14. Your speech was 14 minutes long. Vic just timed it.
Oh, okay. It was supposed to be 15.
Yeah.
And I had help from a lady, and she said, "What you do is you fold the corner of the page, okay? So you know how you've seen guys talk and they go like this and they move it over.
Right.
Well, you probably know this, Joe. So you just slide this. You just slide the pit, right? So it got windy near the end, and so I put my left hand on the page, and then when I pulled it, I skipped a page. So it was supposed to be, it was about my son, like where the stage was, a Doubleday Field. It was set up in left center, and he hit maybe his best bolt there. He hit a double there as a minor bantam, I think, like a one off the fence. And I was going to mention that, and it made the paper because the paper. I think the thing started at 5 o'clock, so I had to send it in, but it didn't. I didn't say it, so there I've said it. Yeah, and there was
there you go.
About it. What a great kid he is. There he is. There
he is. That's awesome.
We got three grandkids, and those guys there in New Brunswick. So we haven't been able to see them. So it's. Vic, you're sneaky. You caught me there.
That's pretty good. So that's being a grandparent, I'm sure it's good. Our daughter's going to have our first one in November. Looking forward to that. But being retired has its benefits because you can go visit them, right? Especially being in New Brunswick, right?
You can if where's the grandchild going to live?
Oh, Toronto.
Yeah, well. These guys are in New Brunswick, and it's a 17-hour drive, and I'm not comfortable flying yet. So we're that's why the picture up there that was very nice. Well done.
Thank you.
Good job, Vic. Okay, well, that's Bob. I want to thank you for being with us today, and I want to congratulate you on all
Sure.
your stuff. And
I think Vic had a better show than Billy.
yeah, I think Vic said Billy's on. Okay, so Vic will be next time you're on the show. It'll be Vic and I and you.
All right.
So, but we want to thank you. And just a reminder is that we got more coming up. But as we go to the break, just that we're all in this together. All right. And also, you have
Promotional consideration provided by ClubLink. ClubLink. One membership, more golf. Do you realize that 80% of golfers enjoy country music? Really? No, but 100% of golfers enjoy timely play. And that means being ready when it's your turn. Bring enough clubs to make a shot when you go to a ball that's away from your bag. Leave your clubs in an advanced position so when you move on, you're not going backwards. Remember, we're all in this together.
Heidi as McNair lets her trot
all
down.
right. Time for my Costa Swiss pick of the week. Last week I took Paul Martinell, and the number 5 was Cool Muscle in the 4th race of Mohawk. Now, Cool Muscle had finished second 4 races in a row. And guess what? You can make it 5. He finished second again, and a great finish from all the way from second last. And if this race was another 10 meters, Cool Muscle wins this race. Jessica Hayter, the trainer. My record now is 4 wins, 2 seconds, 4 thirds, 2 fourths, 1 fifth, and 1 sixth. So not bad. Not bad. Okay, now this week I'm going to go with a horse named Buzz, the number 10 horse in tomorrow night's 7th race in Mohawk. Jonathan Drury drives for trainer Carmen Osceola. Buzz is the class of the field and should be able to overcome that tough post. Hope there's no Buzz kill in this field. Okay, let's move on to some other sports. Bob, you don't mind sticking around for a little while? We got this game 5 of this, no, game 6 of the Stanley Cup tonight. Stars. Everybody would say that this club is maybe better than we expected them to be.
I'll handle this one, Bob. Let the professional handle this one. Don't
Yeah,
worry,
you. This is all yours. I'm sticking with my Ottawa 67s days.
I'll handle this one. The Dallas Stars. The Dallas Stars have been the second best team on the ice for the majority of the playoffs. Started with Calgary, went to Colorado, in Vegas. When you watch the games, they get outshot. They get the possession time is generally against them. The shots on goal are against them. But one thing that's never against them really is if you look at the end of the game, they take the body and they play a tougher game than anybody in the league. Kudos to all the staff in Dallas. Kudos to the players. Jamie Benn. You got veterans like Perry. You got all kinds of nice pieces, and it just goes to show you what a team with grit can do. But their time is up. They're living on borrowed time. They played Tampa Bay 5 games, and they've been the better team on the ice 0 out of 5 games, right? So
they won 2.
Yeah, that's the point. Smoke and
Anton Hudobin, 39 saves in the last game, right? So that's,
Yeah, good goaltending, a gritty club, but can only go so far. Dallas is on borrowed time. They're not going to beat Tampa Bay 2 in a row. They're not going to beat Tampa Bay tonight. Series over. We'll tune in about 10:30. You can watch, for you people in Toronto that haven't seen the Stanley Cup in a lifetime, you can tune in and watch it again on TV about 10:30 p.m. Tampa Bay Hoist tonight.
All right, and remember, you can trust Billy because he said that the Islanders would beat Tampa. and that the Avalanche would beat the Stars. Remember, Billy's. I'm going to say they're going to 7 games. I'm going to say they're going to 7 games. Bob, any thoughts on that?
Well, my only thought is Tampa Bay's lucky that they're not facing Ryu tonight.
Yeah. Right?
They're not facing Ryu. If Tampa Bay is facing Ryu tonight. Yeah. There you go. Well, listen, the Stamkos is definitely up, but they did come back for 1 game, which surprised everybody. Well, it surprised a lot of people. Actually, last week we said there was a possibility. They did. He came back for 1 game, less than 3 minutes, scored a goal, and then he's out again. But now, so what do you think the deal with that is? Do you think that he really was hurt after that couple of shifts, or do you think that they just wanted to bring him out there to play?
Fascinating
to get
stuff.
in the cup.
When you saw him take the shift, put in that beauty, score that goal. Number one, if the guy's hurt, he doesn't leap 10 feet in the air to jump on his teammate after scoring that goal. He'll take it easy. So to me, he looked 100%, man. He looked like he just played the day before, and all of a sudden he's out again. Can't play, season over. It's very interesting because, when it comes to the NHL and injuries, they're like Bob, they're mum's the word, man. They don't tweet stuff out. They're very secretive when it comes to injuries. It'd be interesting to know what Stamkos had to overcome just to play a couple of shifts, but he looked pretty good to me. Did he not look good to you, Joe?
He looked great. I was stunned, and my thought was that maybe because Tampa had gone this far without him, they were getting by without him. You bring a guy in who's not necessarily up to snuff in terms of conditioning, play him a little bit. He put him on the ice. He scores a goal. He's done his deal. Now he gets his name on the. Well, he had his name on the Stanley Cup anyway because he's captain. But now he's legitimately part of that Stanley Cup winning team. And then you send him back to be the cheerleader again. Yeah. When Shattenkirk scored the overtime winner the next game, I mean, he was the first guy to greet him, and there you go.
Yeah, absolutely. Not only to both Dallas and Tampa played unbelievable. Sometimes we forget these people have been in the bubble for the better part of over 3 months now. Can't be easy psychologically for a lot of guys, right? Even though they get big fat paychecks, it's not easy I'd imagine it's not easy to be away from your family, from your friends for that duration of time. So kudos to both clubs. Kudos to the NHL for handling the whole COVID bubble situation impeccably, right? You didn't hear any issues from the bubble. You didn't hear any issues regarding health and safety. They handled it perfectly. Kudos to the NHL. Look for a good game. Hope they go for a good game tonight, a competitive game. And good luck. We'll start the season in 3 weeks, it looks like.
Yeah, and my sister's buddy Steve, who bet $500 in Dallas at 60-1 at spreads.ca. He's sure hoping this one goes 7. That's for sure.
Did your buddy did he listen to the Greek and reverse the bet or not?
I think he did. I talked to my sister. I told her the Greek gave you the advice on hedging that bet, so he should do it. So hopefully she's passing up.
Shoot a couple 20s my way. It's a little tough over here, right?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we'll see what happens next time I see her. I'll tell her. So the Leafs add a couple of assistant coaches, Matty Malhotra and Paul McLean. Any significance in these two signings?
The only significance is that we're talking about two of the greatest mustaches ever. There goes one. Look, Paul McLean and Bob Elliott, the best mustaches in the business.
Right.
Bob decided to up and leave. I don't know. He's taking a little walk. He's got to stretch his back. He'll be back in no time. Right? Nice of him to join us.
I think Bob was done after the baseball segment, but he just didn't know how to shut off his TV. There you go. Okay, there we go.
All right.
Thank you. Thanks again, Bob. It was good to have you. Anyway, yeah. Anyway, I think this adds obviously a lot of experience to the mix here. Paul McLean's the guy who's coached, been a head coach in the NHL, and I don't know who made the call in this, whether it was Dubas and Sheldon Keefe sitting down and going through a list of guys that they knew and thought would be a good ad. But whatever it is, we'll see what kind of an effect it has on the Leafs when things resume in December or January.
If you remember last year, Tilley, they changed assistant coaches under Babcock. The minute you change your assistant coaches, you know what you're doing. Eh? You're one step closer to the head guy. So again, everybody's on notice too. Given the fact that it was a COVID season, no major changes in terms of management, in terms of coaching, stuff like this. COVID give give Dubas the best excuse to push this season aside, bring it back one more year, make the changes necessary, because make no mistake about it, if they played that full season and the Leafs missed the playoffs, Dubas would be sitting somewhere like this on a couch doing something like I'm doing too. He'd be out of a job if the Leafs missed the playoffs. He'd be out of a job, and
possibly.
Listen, you have a 5-year plan. You brought in the system. You signed these guys to massive contracts, and you missed the playoffs. You got to go, kid. You got to go.
But remember, he's only been the general manager for two years, full years.
Doesn't matter. He was the general manager that signed the contracts of William Nylander, Mitch Marner. He did all the things. He's the guy that shipped guys out, brought guys in. He's the guy that kind of altered what Lamoriello and the other guys.
Well, a lot of the guys were brought in under Lamoriello. A lot of the guys who are still here were brought in under Lamoriello. So.
In this hockey market, when arguably you got one of the most talented teams in the league and you don't make the playoffs, guess what? You got to go. Simple. You got to go.
Well, that's because they don't listen to the Greek, and if they did, they'd be in good shape.
Forget about the Greek. Toronto, as we've said 100 times, and we'll get into it this year as we're starting. We're hoping that Peter Angelo signs that contract. Peter Angelo and Riley to augment the rest of that back end. You've got a whole different dynamic on that team, right? And then you get started. But Toronto, as you suggested, is one of the most talented teams. It's unacceptable that they get eliminated in the first round continuously. It's unacceptable this year. They were within 2 points prior to getting shut down with COVID of missing the playoffs. That's unacceptable. That's unacceptable, rather. Let me gather my thoughts. For a club of that caliber, it's unacceptable.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I mean, nobody was happy with that. That's for sure. Okay. So the NBA, the Heat beat the Celtics 125-113 to take the series 4-2. Heat are. Did anybody really think that the Heat were going to be in the NBA final? I mean, I suppose we had a sort of an idea that it's possible, but I guess the way things unfolded with the Raptors, having a little struggle against the Celtics, and we did. What were you saying?
We had Swirsky on here. Swirsky said, "Watch out for the Heat." Who better to know the game inside than that guy, right? He's been covering it for lead announcer on the Bulls broadcast, former Raptor announcer. If he's telling you the Heat are going to beat the Bucks and look out, right? Then you got to look back and start taking the guy seriously when he talks, kind of like the Greek, right? When I talk, things happen, right?
Right. When you talk, things happen. Absolutely.
Bad things, but
bad things. Sometimes bad things. Sometimes good things. Bam Adebayo. I mean, he's got one of the best names in basketball. 32 points in the clincher. They got a lot of. They reminded me a bit of the Raptors from last year. They started to get some points from different places. Hero had a couple of big games. Jimmy Butler, he was pretty much solid throughout. But Eric Spoelstra is a great coach, and now he's going to face his old buddy LeBron James in the final. That's an interesting matchup.
It's forgettable. Spoelstra obviously deserves a lot of credit, but that organization begins and ends at the top, and that starts with one Pat Riley. Don't forget Pat Riley's in charge of that organization, works with Spoelstra. They've created a great system. Bam, unbelievable, came out. This was just coming up. The notion on Bam, he's a rebounder, he's a nice player. He'll box you out. He showed another dimension in Game 6 against Boston. As a matter of fact, the fourth quarter, the whole offense was running through him. He was making moves that reminded you of somebody else, right? So unbelievable. Got perimeter shooters. Basically, what it's going to come down to, Jimmy Butler's going to be guarding LeBron James for 40 minutes a night. Jimmy Butler, one of the best defenders in the NBA, one of the most tenacious players. They got shooters. Bam can guard Unibrow. It's going to be a tough series. And again, the LeBron factor with his coach, with Spoelstra, just adds to the theater, and it's going to be an interesting final.
I can't see the Heat getting this one. I mean, I think they've done a great job to get to this point, but LeBron James, he just has that ability to switch it into that next gear when it really matters. I mean, look at him in the clincher against the Nuggets, 38 points. 16 rebounds, 10 assists.
Yeah, but for all intents and purposes, hold on. Miami's a different beast than the Nuggets. Nuggets are a decent little club. Don't get me wrong; they had a nice run.
Yeah.
But when we're talking about Heat, they play tenacious defense. And the one thing with Miami, much like Boston, they got multiple scorers. They got actually more scoring options, as you mentioned, than the Lakers. They shoot the ball from everywhere. They rebound. Goran Dragic is unbelievable. They got different guys every night coming up. 20 Duncan Robinson, having big games at different moments. Crowders, don't sleep on them. Don't sleep on them. I see that. I see Miami in with a shot. Absolutely. Miami in this case is a live underdog.
Yeah, I think the Lakers get it done. You when you think about what LeBron James has done in the past, I mean, he single-handedly won the NBA championship for the Cavs, pretty much, and he single-handedly got him back to the finals against Golden State.
That was 10 years ago, Joe.
No, not that long ago.
Let's just say LeBron is 36 years old. Obviously, he's still one of the greatest of all time. He's not a spring chicken. The best player on that club, the only way that club wins if Anthony Davis is the best player in that series. He's the best player now in the Lakers. The ball runs through him. LeBron is there, obviously. But if Anthony Davis is not the most dominant player and doesn't win the MVP of that finals, Miami wins. If Anthony Davis is the best player, then the Lakers win.
I don't see it though. I think LeBron is still the guy, and I got to give a lot of credit to our buddy Lamar or Jamal Murray, because he was clearly hurting. I mean, he screwed up that knee. He suffered the knee contusion, the right knee contusion, and he kept playing through it. I mean, he had to, obviously. He had no chance without him. But what a great job he did. What a great job the Nuggets did to get there. And everybody knows who Jamal Murray is now, and everybody who knows where Kitchener is now too, or at least they know of Kitchener.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's nice. It sounds nice, but just don't travel there. It's a nothing happening town, but it sounds nice. Kitchener, Ontario. Just don't go there, man. Stay in Scarborough. Go on.
It's not far from Mohawk, and they got some good racing out there. Yeah. Okay, so the MLS, Toronto SC against the Columbus Crew. Andre Pozuelo, Richie Laryea, the Toronto native, scored his 4th goal of the season. Toronto beats Columbus 3-1, and they moved to within 2 points of the Crew for first place in the MLS East. So they're making things happen in the soccer bubble. French Open today. Well, Gina Bouchard, she's on the comeback trail. She made the semifinal or the final of a WTA event recently. She won in straight sets in round 1 at the French. Leila Annie Fernandez. Okay, this kid is good. 18-year-old from Laval, Quebec, just outside Montreal. She dropped the first set against Magda Linette of Poland, who's the number 31 seed at the French Open. Leila Annie Fernandez dropped the first set 6-1. I mean, she was blown out, not even in it. She comes back and wins the next set 6-2, and then blows Linette away in the third set for a huge win. And now remember, this girl, 6-3 in the final set. So thanks, Vic, for the update on that one. So this is like she was last year. She was a girls' champion. She's just turned 18 years old in September this month, September 6th, and she's knocking off the number 31 seed. Canada just keeps producing one after another. Now, a little on the downside, Felix Auger-Aliassime, the 19th seed from Montreal, lost in straight sets to world number 52 Yoshihito Nishioka of Japan. But and Steven Diaz, who's a qualifier guy, who's trying to get something going now later in his career, 29-year-old from Toronto. He lost to Mackenzie McDonald in straight sets. Denis Shapovalov and Vasek Pospisil both play.
Hey, let me ask you something.
Next day, but
you play tennis?
A little bit. I mean, I go and knock it around once in a while. Yeah.
Do you serve or do you serve underhand?
I can actually serve overhand, Billy. It's a good thing. Yeah, I do sometimes in volleyball too. Both ways.
How about a little, when your foot gets better, a little friendly wager with the Greek for some charity of your choice? Me and you on the tennis courts, 1-on-1, pal.
Well, it's going to be a while before my heel is better, and when it is, I don't know how I'll be able to run around the court, but we'll see. Yeah, maybe we can do that.
By that
We'll
time,
look at that.
By that time, actually, wouldn't be fair, man. You're going to be turning 70 by the time your foot gets better, anyways. So go on. Elliott loses. Elliott loses in as you mentioned today in straight sets, coming off a rather impressive U.S. Open run, and it just goes to show. It just goes to show that the most elusive thing for young guys to get from somebody to be a guy is consistency, right? He comes in the U.S. Open, looks like the best player on the planet for about 3-4 days, and then all of a sudden he's gone. He comes here, it's gone, and that's the most elusive thing. He's still young, he still has time. But for me, the
court surface is a big factor too, right? Court surface is a big factor.
Absolutely.
He likes the hard course.
For me, the most interesting piece is watching Jeannie Bouchard fight to try to get back into the winning. If people remember before Andreescu, she was the Canadian darling of tennis, made the Wimbledon finals, and then just completely fell off the map for a couple of years. She's forced to qualify. She's been humbled a little bit. She's done well in some tournaments outside the WTA, and for her to come back, maybe there's one more run for her to come back on the national stage and be prominent once again.
She's not that old, so a couple of runs maybe.
Yeah, I wouldn't put it past her. Maybe she's got her priorities in order, and maybe she looks at the game of tennis a little differently. It'd be nice to see her come back to some fashion of prominence in terms of tennis moving forward in Canada, especially.
Now, you know what? The way she's playing, why not? I mean, she's done it before. She knows what it takes to win. She's beaten, on her run to Wimbledon, and she also made the semis in the French, if I'm not mistaken. She beat some. She beat great players on the way there, so
And she's got an open invitation to come on the Tilley and Billy show at any time.
Anytime. Yep. So does Bianca. We told her that. Okay, absolutely. And also, so Shapovalov and Pospisil still around. Mac Hughes of Dundas, Ontario, comes up just short. Man, at one point he was tied for the late in the round, but had a couple messed up on 18 a little bit to drop back into third. But he's had himself a great year. Hudson Swafford finally breaks through and wins. Queen's Plate winner Mighty Hart is going to continue his pursuit of the OLG Canadian Triple Crown when he takes on 8 contenders Tuesday night at Fort Erie in the 85th edition of the Prince of Wales Stakes. And that brings us to the NFL, Billy. Another strange week, another tough week for the Greek. 2-3? I think you were in this week. 6-10 overall. What's happened? What happened? People are relying on you.
First of all, Tilley, it's a marathon, not a sprint. Got stumbled a little bit, and as you know, betting football on spreads.ca, Tilley and Billy, $25 bonus. That's a tough way to make a living, baby. It's a tough way to make a living, and I'll tell you this. So you go 2-3, but among the 3 losses, you lose a Cowboy game with 5.5 points. Unbelievable how you lost that game, especially not only the way you lost it, but the way Seattle covered. You got a Pittsburgh club that was trailing throughout, score a late touchdown, cover the game. You got a Cincinnati, Philadelphia club where the guy's 0-2 and he's punting away with 10 seconds left instead of trying to win the game. NFL is willy-nilly, unbelievable. Bills were up 28-3. You turn the game off, and before you know it, they're down by a field goal with a minute left, and they needed to get bailed out with a pass interference call in order for Josh to punch it in. Unbelievable. If the NFL was crazy before COVID, it's ridiculous now. It's ridiculous.
Well, Josh Allen is a real deal. There's no doubt about it now. I mean, 1,000 yards in 3 games, 10 touchdowns, 1 interception. The guy is for real. And how about Russell Wilson? 14 touchdowns in 3 games. That's a record.
At some point in time, we've got a lot of Cowboy fans. Obviously, I'm a big Cowboy supporter. That injuries are a part of every sport. I'm not going to make excuses. Both defensive backs out for the Cowboys. Safeties out. Vander is continuously getting hurt. Sean Lee never on the field. It's hard to play against a Seattle club with some talent and to play against the Zebras. All calls go against the Cowboys. Roughing the passers, illegal contacts, unbelievable. If I didn't know any better, and I'm not saying anything, I'm not questioning anybody's integrity, but if I didn't know anybody, I think a couple of the Zebras got accounts with spreads.ca and are laying a little bit of cash on the Seahawks to cover. I'm just saying, I'm not sure.
Spoken like a true Cowboys fan. Who do you like tonight, sure. Chiefs or Ravens?
Give me the world champs. Give me the world champs. Give me the world champs just for fun. Because again, COVID 2020, no fans. You don't know what's going on. You don't know what to expect. If you see two clubs that are decent, and we're talking about two of the best teams in the AFC, give me the number. Who's paying more? We got Mahomes on one end. We got the other kid on the other. Probably the two best clubs in the AFC. Would you agree?
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Yeah, you can make an argument for your Bills are right up there.
Jackson and in this case, they can both do it with their arm and their leg. So it's going to be
so if you're asking me who I like, I don't like nobody. I don't know. I really don't know. So whoever pays more money, that's who I'm taking. Give me the Chiefs on the money line. Plus 159, right. Spreads.ca.
Okay. Now, speaking of spreads.ca, we know the Stanley Cup will be presented. We still don't know who for sure. You can decide that. We've also got the start of the NBA Finals, lots of football, both NFL and NCAA. If you go deep into the NHL markets on spreads.ca, you can bet on which player will score first and other fun markets like that. So lots of fun. A reminder that the Tilley and Billy Show is now available for streaming across the Barnburner Radio Network's 122 platforms, including iHeartRadio, Spotify, iTunes, SoundCloud, Google Play, Stitcher, TuneIn, and Zingo TV. Don't forget to download the Barnburner app, Zingo app. The official Barnburner app is also available for download via the App Store on Apple iOS devices, in addition to Apple or Google Play on Android devices. And as our old pal, yeah.
Also, don't forget, it's available on Roku sticks. You forgot the Roku sticks.
Okay, gotcha. All right, sounds good. And our good pal Tommy Gunn says, music can help you get through the tough times. Tommy says, play your favorite tunes, play them loud. Here's Tommy with Love Conquers All, available on iTunes and Spotify. Take it away, Tommy.
Love conquers all.